For more on this, our Chase team has reached Malini Vijaykumar in Ottawa. She is an employment and labor lawyer. She's with Nelligan Law. So, Malini, great to have you on the program. Let me pick your brain. What is the most common question you are getting?
Well, the most common question I'm getting is if I don't get my vaccine, what's going to happen to me? And so, Hannah, as you just said, we know that under the federal policy, what's going to happen is probably going to be an administrative leave without pay.
And for each other, for corporations, for private companies, what must an employee do in order to know they are covered with their rights?
In the private sector, assuming there isn't a human rights concern in play, and if there is, of course, if you have a medical or religious need, for example, to not get vaccinated, you should raise that with your employer. That should be your first step, and then you can seek accommodation. If you don't have such a need, it's more of a personal or conscientious objection to vaccination, then your options, unfortunately, may be quite limited. If you are terminated or suspended or something like that, you may be able to contest that and say that it's without cause, but it's really going to depend on the situation and how much notice you were given.
So what scenarios could provide for an accommodation, Malini?
Well, for example, if you have a medical contraindication to the vaccine, that's a phrase we've seen used in the federal policy. If you have some sort of other underlying condition that makes you perhaps more prone to serious side effects from the vaccine, or if you have a sincerely held religious belief against the vaccine. We have seen guidance, though, from several human rights commissions and bodies that claiming simply a conscientious objection to the vaccine is most likely not going to be held a human rights ground.
So in that latter case, are you expecting to be really busy? Is there a legal implication here?
There is potentially because, like I said with my earlier comment about termination, if you're terminated for a reason that's not discriminatory under the Human Rights Code or under human rights legislation, then that termination might be non-discriminatory, but it could still be without cause. And I think that's an issue a lot of employers are treading really carefully now. They know that, okay, perhaps I can terminate somebody if they refuse to get the vaccine just based on personal choice, but what kind of severance do I have to pay them? What kind of notice do I have to give them? I think those are going to be the real issues that are going to occupy a lot of people's minds.
What's occupying your firm over at Nelligan right now? How are you, prepping for this wave? And I don't mean like a fourth wave, but this wave of questions.
We've seen some inquiries. Firstly, in response to the federal policy, I know that there was quite a short consultation time given to the unions, the public sector unions, on the final version of the policy and framework. And so we've seen some questions about that. People who are generally for a vaccine policy but have concerns about perhaps the timing that has been rolled out, the timing that people are being given to go get their shots, and what does this mean on the employee side? Does this mean I can get EI? Can I not get EI? Those are the kinds of questions we're really preparing ourselves for.
Final question for you. Could you in the future envision something like a big class action suit? People who are conscientious objectors to getting a vaccine, who have no accommodation through their employer. Could there be that kind of big suit to deal with this question?
I wouldn't rule it out, but one thing you need for a class action like that is enough commonality of circumstance. And we're seeing a lot of variation in the facts. Some people are being, refusing to get vaccinated, getting terminated immediately. Others are getting put on administrative leave. Still others are being terminated with severance. So I think corralling all those people together is going to be difficult, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out.
Thank you for your time, Malini. You have a happy weekend with your family. That's Malini Vijaykumar in Ottawa. She is an employment and labor lawyer with Nelligan Law.